If South Africans really wanted the land, we'd be talking more about what happens after expropriation, not just before it. Because the biggest gap in the national conversation isn't just whether expropriation should happen, it is how to make sure it doesn't collapse under poor management. And the truth is, we already have working models for that. Cooperative ownership is one. We've got examples like the Umgungundlovu Communal Property Association in KwaZulu-Natal, where land was transferred to communities and they collectively manage the livestock, crops, and leases. The state gave the land share, but the real success comes from how the people organize themselves to use it. Trusts, co-ops, partnerships with private agricultural investors, these are not foreign concepts. They're happening. And they prove that land redistribution doesn't automatically equal dysfunction. It's about design, right? If the structure is broken, the project fails. But when the local community has a stake and a say, things actually work. So we can stop pretending that it's either leave things alone or burn it all down. There's a middle ground, but it takes work and planning, not just political slogans. And that's really the challenge. South Africans say they want the land back, but few want to talk about the discipline required to manage it once it has returned. We're not just dealing with hectares and deeds, we're dealing with governance, access to tools, market logistics, and long-term planning. Community-led land reform has to answer real questions. Who makes decisions? How do profits get distributed? What happens when there's a drought or a failed crop season? That's why civic models matter. Not just because they feel more democratic, but because they reduce dependency on slow-moving government systems and corrupt tender chains. If the land is returned but sits idle or becomes a battleground over petty politics, then the reform collapses under its own weight. But if communities are trained, supported, and given a framework that they can govern, it becomes an engine for economic growth. Not overnight, but over time. So when people argue that expropriation without compensation can't work, what they're often describing is a failure of planning, not the actual principle. We can make it work if we want to.